Assalamu alaikum. It is 11:33 Central African Time, coming to you live from Salam Media Studios in Johannesburg. I'm Aaliyah, your host of the Mid-Morning Talk today, proudly sponsored by Sanzaf, changing lives through development and relief. Sanzaf is looking to bring its successful chef school program to Johannesburg, and they need your support to make it possible. The Sanzaf Chef School equips young people with accredited culinary training, workplace readiness, and real pathways into the hospitality industry. Through this program, students gain more than cooking skills. They gain confidence, dignity, and the opportunity to build a better future. Your donation can help us open doors for the next generation of chefs in Johannesburg. Donate now at www.sanzaf.org.za and be part of changing lives through skills, opportunity, and empowerment. Welcome back. We are ready for our second interview. We have with us today Safiyyah Surtee. Safiyyah, welcome to Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, Aaliyah.
Thank you for joining us. Safiyyah is an educator and activist whose work is rooted in Islamic spirituality, gender equality, and community engagement. She holds a master's degree in religious studies and is certified in counseling. Her work is grounded in service and includes involvement in children's madrasa programs, women's Quran and dhikr circles, and social outreach initiatives. It's really good to see you. And I'd like to start off with the question that I've been asking all our guests, but I'm particularly interested in what you have to say, because I know you're a very avid reader, and I'm always keen for your suggestions. So what are you reading at the moment, and is there any writing or writer that currently intrigues you?
Yeah, Aaliyah, I'm not a reader who reads one book at a time. So
I
I
can
have like
relate.
multiple books opened. And yeah, and some of them, so it's Rabiul Awal, and every year I really benefit from rereading and rediscovering the Seerah. So I'm reading Revelation. It's called Revelation, the story of Muhammad by Miraj Mu'ittin. And it feels like a textbook. It feels like you're sitting in a course on the Seerah. So I'm really enjoying that. That's in the kind of nonfiction. And then I'm reading The Silent Minaret, which is an old novel by Ishtiaq Shukri. It's really good, going into apartheid, South Africa, activism, exile, those kind of themes. I'm always reading lots of children's books, reviewing for my kids, for our madrasa. Yeah, and a writer that I'm really hooked onto right now is Dr. Farah Al-Sharif. I've been really devouring her writings. It's called Sermons at the Court, and she's right at the intersections of everything that's important right now in the world. And to me, spirituality, politics, decolonization, gender. Dr. Farah Al-Sharif is a writer I'm quite keen on at the moment.
Are her writings mostly online, or are we talking articles or like a Substack or books? Okay, I think we're just having a little...
A lot of it's online. Some of it's published in journals.
I can hear you now.
Yes, mostly online. Her Substack is called Sermons at the Court. It's drawing on the concept of standing up to power in the court, speaking truth in front of oppressors, tyrants. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that really symbolizes, the struggle of a lot of Muslim women in South Africa, standing up to the court, standing up to the community for many decades,
Yeah.
and trying to ensure that they get what they need to, that they are able to practice Islam in ways that are actually prophetic, and not just made up or cultural. And so I feel, we met like probably over a decade ago, and I feel like the landscape of South African Muslim women in South Africa has evolved in some ways. And I think in some ways It hasn't changed. And as someone who has been very active in the space and has campaigned for Muslim women to have access to many things, most importantly, access to masajid, which we know was pioneered by many women like Shamima Sheikh decades ago. What do you think some of the wins have been for Muslim women in our community, and what work do you think still needs to be done? It's a big question.
Yeah, I mean, you already alluded to the fact that we need to keep remembering, keep, commemorating that pioneering work of people like Shamima Sheikh, and then in each generation subsequent to that, women who have spoken out, campaigned, struggled for their access to sacred space, to justice in all levels of religious life, family life, public and communal life.
Mhm.
So one thing is to remember and to celebrate, these people from our history, really the shoulders on which we stand. And then, we can look at what have the wins been. Because sometimes we feel, it's so lovely to go to a masjid, but we don't remember the long
Mm.
struggle that got us there. And I think it's quite positive that we're seeing it much more normalized, the spaces for women in masajid. I mean, it's not ideal by
Yes.
by any standards, but it is much more normalized, acceptable. There has been a shift, we can say that. Um, but more than that, I think a huge win has been just the incredible presence of Muslim women in all levels of society. I mean, in the media, in political spheres, in business, in entrepreneurship. We've just seen Muslim women um, own these spaces. And I think that is because of, these long struggles to change the discourse of what it means to be a Muslim woman, to hold true to your faith, but to be able to own all of your different identities, to sit with those identities without tension or guilt or contradictions, that you can be fully Muslim and fully present in whatever your vocation or your career or your calling in life is. So I think those are some of the wins that we're seeing as Muslim women in our community.
100%. I think, yeah, there's a very powerful presence of Muslim women in our society and in our community, and it's always amazing to see how much impact they're making in so many different fields and so many different lives. And it's quite frankly, it's just super inspirational,
Yeah, and to be able
to
to do that as
yeah.
as a Muslim woman, informed by your faith, and not sit with the contradiction that my faith says one thing and I'm doing another thing. It's that I'm actually informed by my tradition and by my deep held beliefs to contribute to my society in the best way that I can, and to use my gifts and talents, as a South African, as a Muslim. I think it's to reconcile, because a lot of people sat with contradictions that, can I be, this person that I want to be? Does it align with my religion and my spirituality? And I think we've really moved into integrating some of those
Yeah.
conversations.
No, that's really beautifully put. I think there's the sense of like ownership as well, of just like knowledge and ownership of Islam that Muslim women demonstrate. And for myself personally, I think owning that knowledge was very important to unlearn many things that I had been sort of brought up with or made to understand. And so as someone who is maybe, you know, navigating this world, what sort of like advice could you give them, or what sort of resources could you point them towards in order to get that ownership and power to move through our very patriarchal world?
Yeah, I mean, dismantling the patriarchy, it's one of the challenges we still have. So, yes, there's been a lot of wins. but we still need to really look at our things like Muslim personal law, Muslim family law, the way that we read scripture, all of those things. We still need to have very open conversations about how we do those things. So, like you said, it's taking ownership of knowledge, seeking knowledge. I mean, it's an imperative in our tradition, as I see it. It's like ikra, it's read, it's analyze, it's understand. It's the Quran repeatedly asking us, afala ta'qilun, will you not understand and reason and think and use the faculties you've been given. So the first thing is to go back to reading for ourselves our scriptures. So yes, there's lots of resources out there. There's if you're looking for books and articles and essays on Islam and gender and women's empowerment and justice, there's a lot. But I feel we first need to go back to the beginning and be able to read our own texts, which I believe everyone should be able to access. They're not kind of owned, and they shouldn't be just in the hands of a few. It's something that's been sent to all of us. And then when we're doing that, it's to do that with the eye of, are we looking for the most beautiful, most expansive, most inclusive, the most kind of wide readings and interpretations of our texts? Because it was sent, as a mercy to all humankind, sent as healing, sent as transformation. So reading it and then knowing with what lens we're reading it is equally important. And then after that, yes, I mean, there's excellent resources. Musawa is one of them. If you're looking for information on Islam and gender justice, family law, personal law, relationships, I think that's a great resource.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, the Quran is an excellent resource, and I'd like to dive more into that after the break. So please stay with us, and we will keep talking faith and feminism.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
There are over 200 million orphans globally. We can't help all of them, but what if we each helped just one? The Al Imdad Foundation now gives you an opportunity to help just one orphan from Syria or Palestine. For just 500 Rand per month, you can help safeguard the dignity of an orphan by assisting them with basic needs such as food, clothing, shelter, medical care, and attention. Our orphan sponsorship program allows you to track the progress of your orphan through regular feedback. Make a difference in the life of an orphan today. Visit alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
World-class financial services only at Safiyyah Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Safiyyah Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.safiyyah.com. www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
The following is a paid political advertisement by the Al Jama'ah political party.
Regularization and the alternative political party for South Africa is the Al Jama'ah effect. Roads will be fixed, refuse will be removed, and personal safety in your homes, streets, parks, and pathways to the local shops and shopping malls will be our top priority. Al Jama'ah aim to regularize shack dwellers by giving them land tenure, regularize water and electricity supply by making it a reliable source. Vote for good governance, accelerated service delivery, excellence, and the best of breed of councillors, mayors, and mayoral committee members. That is the Al Jama'ah effect, South Africa's alternative political party, the Al Jama'ah effect.
That was a paid political advertisement by the Al Jama'ah political party.
Tonight, a child in a shack will try to sleep.
Lost Ed.
No insulation, just thin walls and a biting cold. African Muslims Agency is on the ground, reaching families in informal settlements across South Africa with blankets and winter essentials. Help us spread warmth this winter. For 180 Rand, give a blanket. For 360 Rand, a full winter pack. One gift, one less night in the cold. Africa Muslims Agency. Empowering, educating, inspiring.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Aaliyah, your host of the Mid-Morning Talk today. We have with us Safiyyah Surtee, an educator and activist whose work is rooted in Islamic spirituality, gender equality, and community engagement. Just before the break, we were talking about how the Quran is probably the most important resource for us as people trying to navigate the world, as women trying to navigate the world, and obviously dismantling all the patriarchal narratives that have been fed to us. And in that vein, Safiyyah, I'd like to ask you, because I've sat in a lot of Quran circles with you and learned so much. Could you perhaps share something from the Quran with us for this Women's Month?
I mean, there's so much to share. Every time you open the Quran, there's a new gem that's waiting for you. I think in this Women's Month, the very obvious and the top of mind choice is the verse وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْدُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْدٍ, that the believing men and the believing women are awliya, meaning supporting friends, close allies, guiding, guiding teachers, and just people who hold each other up to very high standards, because the verse continues, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, that they're not just these supporting friends, but they are working together to establish a moral order of justice and freedom. They are enjoining what is right and forbidding everything that is taking us away from those ideals. And I think it's such an apt verse for this month, because it really speaks to the history of Women's Month in South Africa and the kind of radical, revolutionary transformation that women were involved in, working, side by side with our male counterparts. And yeah, I love that verse. But there's so many others. I mean,
yeah, of course.
well.
I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge and poetry in the Quran, and there's so much to reflect on. And I feel like every time you revisit a verse, depending on the stage of life that you're in and what you're going through, I mean, also, well, not the meaning changes, but what it means to you changes. And I just find that so beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing that verse, also a verse that I regularly go back to. And I think something we were speaking about in the previous interview was just the idea of, creating community and having people gather and creating these sort of healthy social ecosystems. And I think that verse also really embodies that. It it in some way encapsulates also this idea of like, you know, Ubuntu, and like what does that mean for people to be together, to support each other, to lean on each other. And yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. You mentioned earlier that you're always going through children's books as well, because I know you have, mashallah, 4 girls of your own, and you also run a children's madrasa. So you're working a lot with children, and I assume have encountered a lot of literature for children as well, and for the youth. So do you have any maybe favorite picks at the moment that you would like to recommend for some parents out there?
There's such excellent books out there right now. I mean, we're really blessed. We're in a time where information's at our fingertips, and you know, we can easily access resources, which is maybe not the case when I just started out with my kids. And I think we first need to look at what is it we're trying to get out of the books that we exposing our kids and our families to. You know, for me, it's all about tarbiyah, which is what we base our madrasa on, which is the foundation of our classes, which is about nurturing, and it's about bringing out what's already within the child, which is their natural fitra. So I feel that the books need to speak to that, you know, and they need to enhance that. And, you know, instead of kind of being preachy or, you know, being too dry in a sense, because I think we really need to take into consideration the power of storytelling and poetry as a tool of education, as a tool of resistance, you know, as a tool of transformation. Storytelling is just one of those things that just seem so simple, but are really so powerful and so meaningful. So I would really encourage families to sit and read stories together, things that open and widen your imagination. One of my favorites is called The Conference of the Birds. It's actually a classic. It's a classic, you know, Muslim spiritual text, but there's also a children's version that's been published. So it's called The Conference of the Birds for children, and the illustrator is just, you know, amazing. The drawings are spectacular, you know, and it's about the journey of the birds where they're going to seek a king, and it's just so imaginative, and it's really takes you out of yourself and your like human limitations into the world of birds. But you know, beneath that is a message about each bird carrying some baggage that they need to let go of, each bird you know, needing to make this journey in a different way, and then ultimately symbolizing each one of our own, you know, personal intimate journeys back to our creator. So the power of storytelling, really, I can't emphasize it enough. And that was, yeah, The Conference of the Birds. But other than that, I mean, there's a book that's indispensable in my home. It's called The 99 Names for Young and Old. It's an amazing book, and it just teaches you to see the names of Allah in, you know, in everything, in your feelings, in your experiences, in your circumstances, out in nature. Yeah, it's just one of those amazing books. But there's so many, and we're really spoiled for choice. We could have a whole discussion on resources
Just
for
in
kids.
children's literature. Maybe another time, inshallah. But I'm so glad that you brought up The Conference of the Birds, because for me, the children's book of The Conference of the Birds was actually the gateway to the epic poem, like the actual poem. So that's how I accessed the actual poem by Farida Din Attar, and it was life-changing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's not only for children.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, definitely a beautiful book. Also, if you live in Johannesburg, you know, we see the African hoopoe all the time. The hoopoe is obviously the protagonist in the story. So definitely a story that you want kids, particularly in the city, to be aware of. Yeah, and just to wrap up, thank you so much for giving us
definitely
your
a
time.
big thing, you know.
Oh, just a little frozen. Okay, you're back. Sorry, you were saying. I think we lost
Can you
you
hear
there
me?
for a moment. Yes, I can hear you.
No, I was just going to say that there's 3 books that I believe children and families need to read. It's the book of the Quran, the book of nature and creation, and the book of the self. So these are not titles. These are really the books of life that each of us need to be able to read at any given moment. And that is the basis of, I feel, Islamic education.
That is so beautiful. And like, yeah, I mean, it just encapsulates the whole world and our whole existence. And inshallah, we'll all be successful in reading those books and, you know, being able to apply what we learn by reading those books as well. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure we could have spoke for like another hour easily. And yeah, just before you
Definitely.
leave, I'm going to ask you. You can give me a few words. As a mom of four girls, you know, what is your ideal vision for the world that they live in?
Oh, that's a very long list, but I think in a nutshell, it's a world where all of us, regardless of our gender or our race or our social status, where we can live up to our true potential, exploring all the unique gifts that Allah Ta'ala has given us, becoming the change that we need to see in the world, and of course, a free Palestine, inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah. And on that note, thank you so much, Safiyyah. That was Safiyyah Surtee with our second interview for the mid-morning talk. We are going to take another break and then we will be back with another wonderful speaker. Stay tuned.